All right, y'all. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. I'm your melanated queen and your hostess, Lil Foxy, aka Seven Wonder. Today, we're going to be delving into the fact that banks are closing people's accounts for no reason, y'all. And it is a scary situation to be in, especially if you need your money, y'all. You know, people out here need their money. We don't have time to be playing games with these banks. And on top of that, we're going to be bowing our heads and joining hands so we can give thanks, y'all. So let's go ahead and begin. Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today in this thing called life, y'all, on this journey in this universe. And we just want to give thanks, y'all, first of all and foremost to our creators, to all of the people that look out for us, to the true people in our life that really do care about us, not the ones that pretend like they do and they're fake and phony behind our backs. We want to give thanks to ourselves. We want to give thanks for our gifts, our talents, and our natural abilities, our health, our strength, all the necessities that we have in life that so many take for granted. The fact that we do have the necessities that we need. We may not have everything we want, but we have what we need. So we're thankful for that. All right. We are grateful for the trajectory of where our life is taking us on this journey. Let the church say amen. All right, y'all. With all that being said, stop it. Y'all, Prince is over here acting up, y'all. Let me turn my camera on. He decided to jump up here and start messing with my headphones. So I'm trying to keep him calm, y'all. He's purring. I don't know if you can hear him, but he sounds like a little thunder cat. He sounds like thunder. Thunder, thunder. Thunder, thunder, principal. Let me see if I can lift him up. Y'all see him? There go Prancer, y'all. He's on my lap. But anyway, y'all, so let's get into it. Let's get into it with no further ado, in case you're not familiarized with what's going on out here in the financial realm of things. The banks are out here closing people's accounts with no warning. People are out here stuck with no money. So, if you remember earlier this year, people said, and even last year when COVID hit, people said they were going to start taking their money out of the banks. This is why. I'm going to share my screen with you in just a moment. And we're going to give you an example of what has taken place. Okay. So, y'all, let's go ahead and get into it right now. All right. You can see my screen here. I'm sure you can. Let's go ahead and let's begin.
How panicked would you be if you had money in the bank and could not get to it, all because the bank said your account was closed? That was one woman's ordeal, and it went on for months. Now, only on to our efforts to.
All right. So, this lady right here, as you can see pictured in the background, had her account shut down, okay? Closed with no warning. Now, let's get into the details of this matter.
Without a problem.
Now, you know the infamous Bank of America. Everybody's aware. They're just like McDonald's. They're on every street corner, y'all. Very convenient, very fast and efficient. However, you know, they always warned us about having a monopoly of businesses because they take over. And when this happens, y'all, they can't be controlled. They're running rampant out here. In case you are not aware, Bank of America is not Bank of America. Bank of America is actually owned by someone in Germany. Okay. The owner of Bank of America is German. He is not American, despite the name. So let's continue forward.
Has ever had anything like this happen before?
No. Okay. They're going to tell the story.
For 17 years, Christina Blanton was a loyal Bank of America customer.
You hear that? Loyal. Okay. You can't be loyal to these corporations because they're not loyal to their customers.
Without a problem. Has ever had anything like this happen before?
No.
Until April, when the South Suburban mother.
Who is April? Shout out to Joycelyn, Jonjolyn. Let me stop. All right, as you can see right here, this she's pictured with her family in the background. Okay.
And grade school teacher suddenly could not get into her account.
I went to log on to my online banking and it kept saying account locked. And so I thought I entered my password incorrectly.
No success online.
All right, y'all. So she could not get into her account, unfortunately. And so therefore, she called the 1-800 number. We know the infamous number 1-800-432-1000. That's the number she called.
So she called Bank of America's 800 number repeatedly.
Repeatedly, y'all. Repeatedly. You see it?
For months, she got the runaround.
I was like transferred to multiple people and then finally spoke to them. And the young lady said, we decided to close your account.
Decided to close her account with no warning as to, I don't even know the reason for it, but they just decided to shut her account down, you all.
Account.
With no adequate explanation, she says. A business decision, the bank told her.
So just because they feel like they want to make a business decision, they decided to shut this lady's account down. Imagine how tragic this is if someone is really in dire, desperate need of their funds. We don't know what people have going on in their daily lives, you all. And with no warning, this is what they decided to do. Now we all know Bank of America has the technology to send emails, to give a phone call, automated calls, text messages, letters, some form of communication that this was coming.
What's worse, Blanton could not get her money.
And what was your reaction to this?
I was upset. I was frustrated. It was right before me getting ready to have the surgery.
She needed surgery, you all, and she's trying to get funds out of her account. Imagine how devastating this had to be for her.
And to not be able to access your money, emotionally, I wanted to cry, but I didn't. I just been dealing with it, and this has been since April.
The surgery she mentioned, it
The surgery, you all, that she needed.
was for thyroid cancer.
Thyroid cancer. So this lady is trying to get a very, very serious um, surgery that she needs done for her medical health underway. And you mean to tell me that they're playing games with her money like this? This is very despicable. There is no excuse for it.
A difficult time all around.
I wasn't getting anywhere.
So Christina Blanton reached out to us for help.
Now, you know how they do. They like to play these little silly reindeer games, y'all, when you call these companies and they keep transferring you around in a whirlwind and nobody can give you a definitive, clear, concise answer because of stupid, deceptive business practices. You all, if you've ever worked for a bank, then you know that there are certain business practices and certain training that we have to undergo when it comes to this. It's called deceptive and fair business practice. And it does not seem that this lady was told that her account will be shut down with no warning. I don't think they told her this.
We contacted Bank of America. The response from a bank spokeswoman was vague.
So I'll go ahead and read this letter. As you can clearly see, they said, I was just surprised as well of the client's status. You can use this following as our statement. We can't share information about an individual account for reasons of privacy, but we have resolved the issue directly with our customer. A customer or the bank may close an account at any time without notice, and the information is disclosed in the customer's deposit agreement. We are always willing to review an account closure at the request of a customer, which is what we did in this case. Thank you. And they blurred out the name.
We can't.
Okay, I've already read it, so we're good there. Let's keep going. All right, so what was the resolution, y'all?
Okay, so we're happy to say the news is better.
A lot better.
Right after we contacted Bank of America, she got a call from a higher up at the bank.
He apologized first and stated that they decided to reevaluate my situation and to open my account back up.
I bet they did. They don't want this negative exposure, you all.
Christina Blanton now has her money, but she still doesn't know why her account was closed, and the anger remains.
This is simply a corporate issue where someone should be taking the time out to at least give a person the respect. How do you cut off someone's money and then proceed to tell them you can't tell them why you cut their money off?
Complete and utter nonsense, you all. She was a loyal customer of this Bank of America that is not even owned by anyone in America. Can I get an amen, someone? This bank that's owned by someone in Germany, and she cannot access her funds. What is she to do, you all? She needed money for thyroid surgery, and they could not disclose why they shut off her funds. She had to go through the drastic extreme measures of reaching out to the news source before they would rectify the situation. Do you all want to be another victim of this atrocity? I don't think so. What shall we ever do, you all? This is why it is important to keep cash on hand, cash on delivery, cash in your stash. Let me repeat that. Keep the cash in your stash, y'all. Make sure you have some type of monetary funds that you can easily access. Because as you can clearly see, these companies don't care about the consumer, they only care about what's working best for them.
And what if it is their last?
What if it is their last and they're trying to get their cash, y'all? You know what I'm saying? This makes no sense that they would treat someone in this way. And yeah, what do you think about these silly reindeer games that they're playing with people's money? She's not the only one that has gone through this atrocity. There have been others. This is just one of many, you all.
Then they're just broke with nothing. And that is unfair practice to anyone.
Remember, I said there is a training if you ever work at a bank or a financial institution that you have to undergo. It is called the Unfair and Deceptive Practices Act that banks are supposed to adhere to. So, where are we in the grand scheme of things when it comes to these corporations just doing what they want to do? We have to stop remaining loyal to people who are not loyal to us. Did we not understand what happened when Kanye was kicked out of JP Morgan Chase's bank? They told him to take your $500 million and get them out of my bank. Okay, they don't care about your stinking money. If you are just a person that's not a millionaire and you're just a thousandaire, do you really think they care? No, but as a collective, as a community, as a group, as a consumer base as a whole, that's when they decide to care. So you just be very careful out here, everybody, about your monetary gains and where you decide to allow people to hold your money. Okay, you be very careful about that, because if this can happen to her, this can happen to anyone.
Miss Blanton tells us she still has not received credits for the monthly maintenance fees she was charged for April, May, and June when Bank of America locked her out of her account.
Now, she was so loyal, 17 years, right?
Yes.
Is she still with Bank of America?
She has switched banks, she told us, and there have been no problems there.
I mean, who can blame her?
That's right. Absolutely, who can blame her? Yeah, it is very shameful that someone would do such a thing to someone. Ah, what's good, Loquacious in the building? You said they do that, Loquacious, but they have to send a letter at least? I don't know if they sent her a letter. That's why you don't store all your money at one bank. Absolutely not. I don't encourage anyone to store their money at one bank. You know what I mean? If you want to come up, Loquacious, I'm going to drop the link. You're more than welcome to come on to the panel and discuss this matter. I just thought it was a great topic that I wanted to touch on because it is something that can impact us all on a national, multinational level, if not globally. I've heard a lot of talk about banks being able to shut people's accounts down with the flip of a switch if they wanted to. So just imagine if you're in desperate need, such as this lady was, she needed money for a very important surgery, and they're playing these money games with her account. Now, what I am going to do is we're going to go over to this article. You all, I'm going to share my screen again because I'm going to present some of this information with you as well. All right. Can I get a witness, somebody? Can I treat the witness like a hostile witness, Your Honor? I'm going to present my evidence. Please, let's review the facts together, okay? Now, I found this article earlier when I was looking up the situation. Okay, it says my bank closed my checking account without telling me. After 7 years, my bank suddenly closed my checking account and did not return my money. Here's what I learned you can do. This is by Angela Colley. She's the writer of this article. You can look her up. We asked the writer to let HSBC know. I think we got some. What's good? We got Miss Sherelle in the background. What's good?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You sound loud and clear.
Okay, good, good, good. I'm just joining in. And your nephews are here. They both seem excited.
tell tell my sweethearts I said hi.
Auntie.
Hi
If you're
there.
listening, you cannot hear me.
They're
Okay.
excited that you're on live. But anyway, so no, based off of what you were saying, so I don't know if that falls completely under unfair and deceptive practices,
hmm
but only because like that's usually when you are trying to convince somebody of something based off of like untrue information, or you're kind of like deceiving them, like you're trying to make them think it's one thing but it's really not. So I don't know if it falls under that, but
hmm
they that's what they do. They use that initial agreement and there's so much information, nobody reads all through that, but that's what they kind of bank on. And when they decide to like do something like shut your account down, or close it or whatever at their discretion, they fall back on saying that, oh well, that was in your initial disclosures when you open your, because they do it. I know for a fact they do. They do it because
Right.
I participate. I don't directly participate in it, but I'm familiar with it, very, very closely familiar with it. And that's what they go off of.
Uh,
And the thing is, like, I think that you should have to give the customer notification, but under certain situations, they don't. If they're saying, oh, well, it's under review, they don't have to send you anything because of that initial disclosure. And I mean, it's wrong though, but that's why you don't keep all your money in one bank. And also you have to know how to kind of escalate your complaint, because you can escalate it in the proper manner that is, you kind of get better results or whatever, you know what I mean. And you can go to the Better Business Bureau on these banks and stuff or whatever. So I feel like she probably should have researched a little bit more. But yeah. And also, why didn't she go into a branch?
right. I don't know if she did go into a branch. I mean, if she was, who knows what her health situation was like during that time? I don't know. But yeah, going into a branch would have been a great idea. But let me get through this article. Thank you for coming up and explaining that.
Uh-huh, sure.
Okay, so yes, here we are. So they're talking about HSBC. Okay, and she's writing about her experience. The company responded that it was committed to clients who conduct cross border business and that for privacy reasons, we do not comment on individual customer. Oh my God. Hold on, y'all. Be loquacious if you want to talk to the people for a second.
I'm not really sure of the details of the current um, item that's on the docket, but I'm very interested in finding out what exactly this is in reference to. I think I may have missed part of it when I was like trying to log into the link, because I accidentally turned off my microphone, so I had to log back in again. Um,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, so
My
continue.
my apologies. I had a call. My fault. Okay, yeah. So let's continue on with this article. Um, and thank you so much for joining in with that bit of information, Miss Sherelle.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. All right. So it says my groceries were rung up and bagged. A line of people waited behind me. The cashier leaned over and whispered, "Ma'am, your card was declined. Do you have another card you could try?" I mean, I've been in this situation before, and sometimes it's because I've given them the wrong card. You know how you have one that's expired and then you have two of the same cards? So, what I do,
Mhm.
y'all, this is something that I do. I keep multiple cards in my wallet because I feel like if someone tries to steal from me, they don't know which one it is, and they might risk they might take a risk of getting the one that is expired. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and they have a way to like scan through your wallet and your purse and stuff like that
Yeah.
and kind of skim the information. So
Mhm.
that's actually not a bad idea because they might pick up the incorrect information, get the
Mhm.
expired cards information instead.
Yeah, I do that. So I have several cards that look alike, and one might work and one might be activated. The other one is like deactivated. I do that. But and then also too, like keeping it like in plain view, because usually when people are trying
Mhm.
to like take stuff, they try to hurry up and be quick and grab the first thing
Yep.
they see. So I try to do that, y'all. So yeah, we've all been there. Most of the time it's just a simple security hiccup. You turn a little red at the cash register, walk out. Well, I don't turn red, but walk out, call the bank, and they turn your card back on. I mean, and that can also happen when you go out of town. I had that happen to me one time I went out of town. And normally they don't do that, but this time they did it because I guess they knew I was out of town. I figured the story would end there, but it didn't. When I called HSBC, I found out my account and online checking and savings I had for 7 years had been canceled with no warning. Why? I still don't really know. The offshore customer service center was not helpful. They couldn't tell me why they closed my checking account or what I should do next. But after doing my own research, I got an idea of what happened and found out I wasn't alone. HSBC has been scaling back some operations in the US, including selling 195 retail branches in 2012, the Wall Street Journal reported last September. The bank also said in 2011 it was selling its US credit card business to Capital One Financial Corporation for 2.6 billion. So HSBC began closing US based business accounts, and in Canada, the Financial Post reported that HSBC was also closing Canadian business accounts. Brett King blogged about having his account closed, which was reopened only after he wrote about it on the Huffington Post. And then here they talk about managing problems with online banks. I wasn't as lucky as King. I'm still trying to sort out my banking nightmare, but along the way, I've learned a thing or two about managing problems with online banks. Here's what you need to know if it ever happens to you. Start with customer service, okay? If you can't visit a branch and talk to someone in person, it says they might not be able to cut you a check right there on the spot, but you'll get better information than talking to customer service. I totally agree with that. If you bank online, you'll have to call customer service. Either way, keep a record of who you spoke to, what time you visited or called, and what was said. Trust me, it'll come in handy. I record conversations when I'm dealing with business affairs and business matters because we cannot trust these businesses. They tell you one thing and then they'll go back on their word. Number two, safeguard written documents. When I finally received a notice from HSBC 14 days after my phone call, it wasn't what I had hoped. The letter simply said my account was reviewed as part of a routine evaluation of all accounts and that the bank had decided to close mine. Not exactly helpful, but keep any letters you receive from the bank. Number three, get your money back. After the letter I received didn't include a check or any mention of one, I contacted customer service again. This time I was told that a check for the final balance of all my accounts would be mailed to the address on file within 7 to 10 business days. If you have received funds in your account, get a customer service rep or personal banker to tell you how and when you'll receive those funds. Make sure the bank has your current mailing address and phone number. Write down anything said and the time of the conversation. Order your check systems report. While I was waiting for my check to come, I applied for a checking account at a small local bank. When I explained how my account was closed, I was told the bank would be hesitant to approve me without proof that my previous account was not closed for fraud or an outstanding debt. To make matters worse, some banks review customer check system records periodically, and if a negative entry appeared, I could have my account closed, putting me in the same mess all over again. Never heard of check systems? You may not realize it, but banks have been keeping a record of you. Similar to a credit report, check systems monitors and records your bank history. Anything reported stays on your file for 5 years and can seriously hurt your chances of getting another account. I ordered my check systems report online for free. There was nothing on it, which is actually good news. Order your copy and make sure your former bank has not reported you incorrectly. I didn't even know you could order a check systems report.
I didn't
Number
either.
Number 5, more money, more problems. 2 more weeks went by and I still had not received the check. So I called customer service again. This time I tried to step things up a notch and asked to speak to a supervisor. After some arguing with the customer service rep, they don't like handling you over to their boss. They don't like handing you over to their boss. I got a supervisor on the phone who promised to reissue the check, except it did not happen. Another 14 days passed, and I still didn't have a check from my rather sizable balance. Finally, having had enough, I started calling daily, asking to speak to supervisors and keeping a record of every conversation. I think the professional term for this is making a big stink, and it's what you obviously need to do. Every time a letter or check does not arrive, call the first day it's late. Ask to speak to a supervisor and demand a resolution. If you can't get one, ask to speak to their supervisor. Number 6, file a complaint. By law, your former bank cannot hold your money or refuse to deal with you. If you aren't receiving notifications, if you're getting the runaround, or if you're having trouble getting your funds returned, you can file. It says file a complaint with the Federal Reserve. Complaints can be filed online and an investigation will be open to handle disputes. According to the Federal Reserve, investigations take 30 to 60 days. The agency will also review your case and notify you if they can't investigate, and you should seek an attorney's help instead. As of now, I still haven't received a check from my balance, and I'm still working on opening new accounts, but I filed a complaint with the Federal Reserve. If my former bank is not interested in talking to me, maybe they'll be interested in what the government has to say. And it says, I finally beat the bank that took all my money. How long does it take to resolve a closed bank account and get your funds back? 5 months if you bank with HSBC. Along the way, I've learned a lot about customer service and online bank accounts, business, and branches of government that protect consumers, and how far up the chain you need to go to get the results. Wow, here's how she finally won. She said she aimed high up the ladder. In her experience, businesses are usually willing to resolve a customer's complaint or issue if you keep escalating until you reach a supervisor or manager willing to help you. Unfortunately, of the 27 times she called HSBC's customer service, she spoke to 3 supervisors, none who were willing to help beyond reading a script and hanging up when she started asking questions. Finally, she located an email address for HSBC's Press and Communications Department. She emailed the department to let them know that she had uncovered several customers with similar issues and she was having an issue herself. In response, she was asked, "You raised some serious issues, and I wonder if you could provide the names and addresses of the HSBC customers you've been in contact with so we can get an investigation and respond appropriately." When I refused, I received a second response. HSBC is committed to serving the needs of commercial customers consistent with our global strategy in the US as elsewhere. That means focusing on clients who conduct cross border business or who intend to do so in the future. As a standard practice across the banking industry, HSBC does reserve the right to exit banking relationships according to the rules for deposit accounts, which form part of the account opening process. There you go again with that. You just said it, Sherelle. So this is what they have you to review at the opening of the account, which many people do not read. For privacy reasons, we do not comment on individual customer matters. This is the same generic response that Bank of America gave. Unfortunately, communication ended there, and I was not able to get an answer from myself or anyone else with a similar problem, but I wasn't at a loss. Step 2, she went to the Better Business Bureau. That's what you had just said. My next step was to contact the BBB. While the BBB only acts as the middleman, you can file a complaint online, and it's a good place to start. Filing a complaint was quick and painless, but getting a response was not. It wasn't the BBB's fault, it was HSBC's fault. This is how the complaint process went. On March 11th, she filed a complaint online. March the 12th, received confirmation of her complaint. March 13th, received a letter in the mail from HSBC Customer Relations Officer who wrote, "Once we have completed a thorough review of your issue raised, we will respond to you immediately. If a resolution is not forthcoming within 10 business days, we will update you accordingly." March 19th, HSBC notified the Better Business Bureau they would look into her complaint within 30 business days. By April 10th, the Better Business Bureau followed up to see if HSBC had responded to her personally. She had not received anything else from the bank. And on April 11th, the Better Business Bureau closed her complaint, stating, "Your Better Business Bureau has tried to present your complaint to HSBC in an attempt to resolve your matter to your mutual satisfaction. Unfortunately, despite their efforts, we have received no response for the complaint. We attempted to contact HSBC and through written correspondence twice on your behalf, but we must now close this matter in our files. This does not minimize the importance of your concerns, nor is it any reflection on the validity of your dispute. In the end, she said she filed two complaints with the Better Business Bureau, one with her local office and one with the office where HSBC is located. The Better Business Bureau wasn't able to resolve any or my issue, but it was a start. Now, step three, she went to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. For banking matters, you can file a claim with the Federal Reserve. Claims are investigated by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And in her experience, they were helpful, but in a roundabout way. She said, when I filed my complaint, I received an immediate response confirming the submission. The next day, I received a response from them with a claim number and this statement. It said, we received your submission. And then it told her what to do. Okay, we will review it as soon as possible to determine if it involves a federal consumer financial law within our authority. Depending on what we find, we will send your complaint to the company for a response or send your complaint to the appropriate regulator to help you get in touch with your state and local consumer protection officer if your complaint is not within our authority, or let you know if we need more information to continue our work. She did not hear back from them again while she was resolving the banking nightmare. She said, it's a step worth doing. If nothing else, it showed the bank she was serious. Number four, how many steps did she have to go through? Okay, so I think we're almost done.
So HSBC seems like they just didn't care. Like if you filing stuff through an agency and you're just like non-responsive, like they were just like F it.
F your feelings. We don't care. So she finally went to step four, dealing with the company again. Finally, I received a second letter from HSBC. It said the bank would look into my claim and follow up within 30 days. The letter also had a phone number on it. She said she called for 3 days without a response. On the third day, she left a message and immediately got a call back. Margaret, the customer relations officer working her claim, told her she hadn't been able to determine why her account was shut down in the first place. It looked like some sort of clerical error. She apologized profusely and agreed to overnight a check for the full balance. The check arrived the next morning. After 5 months of work, she said, I finally made my money back and an apology from the bank. I deposited the check and won't be looking back, but I did learn a few things. For one, I should not have waited so long to seek help. For another while, the Better Business Bureau and the CFPB weren't able to help me directly. They got the attention of HSBC, which did lead to a resolution. So if this ever happens to you, know that you can also beat the bank. Act quick and use the free tools at your disposal to get a resolution. File complaints and keep at it. Someday soon, an extremely frazzled employee will call you with a big apology. Now, should anyone have to really go through all these drastic measures to get a response from the bank that's holding their money? That
You
seems a bit.
shouldn't, but it happens because it's so many stories. Like these banks be out here getting sued. They be paying so much money. Well, not sued, but like
Mhm,
sometimes it's they get sued, and a lot of times they be having to pay like all these fines and stuff, like millions of dollars in fines to the government just for not complying with, the regulations
mhm,
that they know that they're supposed to comply with.
mhm,
So it's amazing. Like if you were to look up these banks individually and find out what they violated and
mhm,
then the money that they had to pay, it's a lot. And
mhm,
some of it is, what do you call it? The when it's the reputational, or not reputational, but when they have to pay because just for the point of like not doing it again or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
um,
So they might have like an actual fine, but then they
mhm.
also have to pay the other money to be like, because you was being bad. I can't
Like
think of what it is.
punitive damages,
Punitive, yes.
punishment.
Then they have a lot of times they have the punitive that comes along with it that even makes it a greater amount. But it's the stuff is so frequent, and it's just that the consumers don't really know the steps to take, because that's what most people do, is just get on the phone and call. And you know what I have started doing just in general with businesses, and if I have no choice but to be over the phone trying to get something resolved, if I'm like, and it's probably my patience too, but if it's like I talk to one person, I talk to two people, all right, from here on out, I need to talk to your manager. we don't really need to converse about what it is, but it just goes to, let me speak to your manager. Nope, I need to talk to the manager. And either they can help, and if not, we call back and we do it again or whatever. But I mean, she did good as far as like, kind of researching who she could complain to and file complaints with, because that's kind of, it's all about escalating. Like if you can escalate to the proper area, then you're good. Because like at my job, they'll get escalations. It's called the office of the president. I don't even know how you get to that point, but when they start reaching out, it's like, look, y'all need to get it together because we about to probably get sued soon, or we about to be in violation of something and have to pay money out. You know what I mean? So yeah, she did good though. I'll say that.
I mean, it takes a lot of determination. Luckily, she probably wasn't not in. I mean, I'm not going to say she wasn't in a dire need for her money, but the other lady was in a very, serious situation, needing her money for thyroid cancer, for the surgery, to get, I guess, cancer removed from her thyroid. Like, and they still playing games with her money. I would think that there should be some type of punitive damages for that matter as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, and I don't feel like that. The first story, the lady with the thyroid cancer, I don't think she probably went as far. Like
Mm-mm.
it sounds like she mostly just stayed,
Mhm.
in house with her complaints or whatever, and then went to
The
to the
media.
news channel. Yeah. So I mean, I feel like if you do, like if they were to talk to a lawyer, then she probably would have an opportunity to maybe, file some type of lawsuit or something because of whatever it cost her, in the process of trying to get her money, and her not being supplied with a proper explanation or resolution, and granted, like they do have that little bit of leeway to stand on, because it's like, well, it's in your original statement, but at the same time, even with that, there's certain it's just certain criteria that has to be followed. Like if you put my account on hold, it can only be on hold for this amount of time. If you conduct an investigation, it needs to be done, within this amount of time. But then at the same time, they keep vague stuff like saying a reasonable amount of time. What's reasonable for me might not be what y'all, are saying is
Mhm.
reasonable. Y'all might have an exaggerated amount of time, just, you know what I mean, without
Right.
giving a specific date. So they do stuff like that. Like, but I will say, like, over the last probably like 10, 15 years or something, there's been more like laws and things put into place to kind of help protect consumers from banks and credit card companies and stuff. But it's still, stuff still falls through, and it really just depends on that bank and their practices. It kind of just comes down to that. And one other thing I will say too is sometimes people will, be like, oh, I'm going to get in my attorney, and a lot of times when the attorney contacts the bank don't really reply to the attorney, because they're like, okay, well, we can't give you any information. Like that first lady that was dealing with Bank of America, and they gave that kind of generic blanket statement of, well, we can't confirm, because as a bank, you can't confirm or deny if somebody has an account, because that's kind of like sharing private information or whatever. So them doing that, they're not gonna give nobody no information. So sometimes when people are like they getting a lawyer, the lawyer might not get too much information.
That's
And you
crazy.
kind of in the same boat. Like the lawyer, if they're gonna be involved, that means they probably need to be filing something. But as far as like, oh, the lawyer contacting the bank, they don't care about that. Like, oh, it's good. Your name isn't on this account. We can't give you no information.
Mhm. It's so funny that you bring that up because I worked with insurance claims for a large number of years, and we used to have claimants to call in, people that were in car accidents to call in.
Mm-hmm.
They would be so frustrated with the claims process, and I felt for these people. And they would be like, I'm going to have my attorney to call, and I'm going to get me an attorney. I'm going to sue. And when they said that, I'm just like, okay, well, have your attorney to send us a letter of representation. You know how many people say they're going to get their lawyer to sue?
A
And
lot.
then, man, and if I could just tell people, like, it's so messed up how these businesses operate as far as settling bodily injury claims, y'all. It's so much that goes on with it's a lot of politics, and it's a lot of the company trying to save money for the company. That's
It's all about money.
Yeah, and our insurance, the insurance company that I used to work for was a multi-billion-dollar company, and it was so sad how frugal they were, especially when we had drivers that were at fault, at risk drivers, high risk drivers, hit and run, drunk drivers, all types of stuff that took place. And then they're sitting there trying to negotiate these people's medical records, their pain and suffering. And I used to have to settle these claims. And it's like I didn't even feel very comfortable presenting some of those numbers, but we were given a certain budget and we had to try to really settle it and operate within that threshold because that was the budget for the entire claim. And sometimes just trying to save money will cause an attorney to file suit, and then you're going to have to go to court. So
Now you're spending more money.
you're spending more money. So really, is it worth it? But then, of course, all of these businesses have a whole team of
A
attorneys that
legal team.
specialize, yeah, a legal team that specializes in that practice to protect them. They're on payroll, they're on budget, so at any point in time, if we needed to call an attorney, we could call one just to get some oversight into the file. Sometimes that would be the recommendation to see which way we should go about it. Just the same like in real estate, like we have errors and omissions insurance because we are 1099 contractors. So if there's something that comes up where we don't do something all the way correctly, we do have that protection, especially when you're dealing with real estate. It's the same way across the board with all these companies. Like when you are
Mm-hmm.
the consumer and you're trying to stand your ground and go up against these companies, you really have to fight. And it's very unfair. The way that we can really combat some of this stuff is just standing collectively as a whole as consumers. Like if there's unfair business practice that we don't agree with, we should stop supporting that company.
Look, so me and your oldest nephew were watching this. It's kind of like a documentary. And because you said the consumer, you're trying to go up against these corporations and it's just you by yourself and they got like all this backing. So if anyone would be interested in watching this, it's on Netflix. It's called Pepsi, Where Is My Jet? That is literally the story. It's this guy trying to go up against this Pepsi basically, but it's only 4 episodes, but it was very interesting and I learned a lot about Pepsi. You would think Coca-Cola came up with this this Netflix show because it makes you give Pepsi a very strong side eye for not even the point of it, but you'll like discover other information in there and be like, what?
I,
So
I need to write that down and check that out.
yeah, I don't even know how we came across it, but it's Pepsi, Where Is My Jet? And it's literally that they, were very typical corporation. And if you watch it, I'm not going to ruin it in case you in case you decide to watch it, but you'll see what I'm talking about. Because you said it, and it's like it was exactly that. And I just watched it like Friday or something. But yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is. It's just individuals, and but the good thing sometimes is like if you know somebody like in a field or that has experience with something, that you could be dealing with to kind of help steer you in, like certain directions or whatever. So, I try like if it's something that I'm familiar with and somebody's like, oh, I'm dealing with this and I know how companies treat it or the workaround to get through it, I'll give my advice like, well, this is what you need to do. You need to do X, Y, and Z because they ain't gonna do this. You know what I mean? So I guess that's what we can do for each other is try to like give people advice if it's something that you got, like background or experience or knowledge about.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, and we know how it is working on the other side of these corporate plantations, you all. When you are basically an employee, you have to kind of go along with the company structure and guidelines, even if you know that systematically it is oppressive to the consumer. And it's a lot of things that I've seen, even up until recent that I don't agree with behind the scenes. Like, and I'm not gonna name the companies, but it's a very major popular insurance company that starts with a P, okay, for
Oh
those of you out
gosh.
there. And y'all would be surprised to find out how they were so backed up in claims and all types of stuff, and people had cars that were totaled, and they had been out of a car for months at a time because of like the tornado that hit. And I mean, they're like, well, how come they came and looked at my neighbor's car and they haven't come and looked at my car yet? And they don't understand the nature of how the company carries out their practices. And it's like, you're the middle person. You try to advocate for the business practices, and then you're
Mhm.
trying to explain to the customer. It's just like a lot of pressure. That's one of the most stressful jobs you can have, is being working an insurance claim job. I
Well,
mean,
and
it's
then
very stressful.
a lot of times too, with a lot of these companies, they're understaffed, and so because they're trying to focus on the budget and not breaking the bank on paying employees,
Right.
then the customer suffers, because it's like the employee, it's they both suffer. The employee suffers because they're trying to like cover this backlog of work, and then the customer, they gotta wait this extended amount of time or whatever. And I will say, like, the company that I'm with, I'll give them credit, because sometimes they will be like, well, this is a bad customer experience, and people will like actually make an attempt to make the experience better. But it just depends, it depends on who. Because I know, like, years ago, I was like, well, why are you doing, questioning like why this was, certain things were the way they were. And it's like, well, it's just like that. And it's like, well, this is horrible for the customer. And I've never been a good person to just be like, well, I'm just going to dump them off somewhere else or give them a non-answer. And so, I would take the time to try to like resolve the issue, because I'm like, I wouldn't want to call somewhere and just be tossed around and nobody really fixing anything or whatever. But, so it does depend on like who, like the lady was saying, you go through three managers and then finally you get to a decent one that's willing to help. So it literally does depend on the person. And the sad thing is, when you have, like the frontline people doing a horrible job, it's probably because there's a horrible manager over top of them. And
Hmm.
I have dealt with that internally, where it's a manager I didn't like and I knew she was horrible, and it reflected in her team.
Yeah, that goes on a lot. It
Huh?
does. That
It
that happens
does.
a lot.
It does. And you would, people assume like, oh, well, I'm talking to the manager, so I'm gonna get something done. And it's like, no, the manager's an a-hole. So you're not gonna get anything done with
It's
that person,
terrible.
because they don't have that mindset. Like, they're just trying to get rid of you, and they're not really super concerned about you or your issue. Because, when people when you deal with a certain amount of like customers or clients or whatever, like they hear the same stories back to back. So somebody saying, sometimes it's true, sometimes it's lies. But when somebody calls in and they're like, what they're going through, like they don't care. It's like there's 99 other stories like yours I just heard earlier. So it
Hmm.
doesn't do anything, and
Hmm.
that's unfortunate, but
Just the
it is what it
nature of
is.
that's the nature of corporate America.
It is. It is, unfortunately.
I mean, and I have spoken to people that some of these people had lost their house. Their houses had been flooded out because of everything. I don't know. This was like some type of tornado, or it was like some flooding that had taken place, and it wiped
Mm-hmm.
through like the eastern part of America all the way to like the southern part. And these people, some of their houses had flooded. Then on top of that, they didn't have transportation. One guy was staying at a resort with his wife. And I'm like, these people got all these tragic situations going on. And the staffing, for one thing, is a major issue with these companies.
Mm-hmm.
They want one person to do the job of five people. And when they give you an influx of 100 claims or more to babysit, plus you're getting emails, plus you're being called into meetings, plus you're taking phone calls, plus you have coworkers that are calling out and they want you to oversee their files, plus you got new claims coming in. And then I mean, how are you supposed to delegate all of that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the company being cheap because they don't want to hire the manpower and the staffing to take care of their customers.
Mm-hmm. But when you think about it, if
Mhm.
if you pay like, what company is it? Google pays like their employees, like they give them all these bonuses and they keep the employee happy. And it's like, if you can get your staff to a certain point, that's only going to make your business better. And I feel like
Absolutely.
companies don't realize that because they're so busy like trying to cut costs and being cheap in a way that is going to negatively impact their because a lot of people go off of customer service, and goodness gracious, like for your insurance to be one of the things that is an argument, like clearly if I have a bad experience filing a claim this one time, because granted, you hopefully you don't have to use your insurance very often for your home or your vehicle or whatever. So if there's this one time where I'm actually having to use it, and now there's a bad experience because y'all are understaffed or you can't get through whatever, I'm leaving. Like I'm leaving as soon as this gets resolved. So now you
Right.
lost business because the experience was so horrible. It's easy to
Uh-huh.
hold on to the customers that don't need to
Uh-huh.
go through that process and find
Yeah.
out how bad it is. But the
Right.
ones that's going through it are like, oh, we're out of here.
All right, so here's a little caveat for those of you who may not be aware of it. And I had shared this information with some of the customers that called in. So, like say someone's car gets totaled or whatever,
Hmm.
you do not have to keep insurance on that car after it gets totaled. As soon as that car, when the insurance company tells you, okay, this car is totaled, we're gonna go ahead and do what we need to do to work your claim. You can actually take that insurance off. You don't have to keep paying that premium. Just so that what's good, 8 with the 24. Nice to see you in the building, Kay. It's been a while since you've been up here. So you don't have to keep insurance on that car. And a lot of people don't know that. They think they have to keep their insurance up until their claim is paid out. No, you don't. All that matters is that your vehicle was insured at the time of the accident took place or whatever event took place. After that, you can cancel that insurance because the car is no longer drivable.
Right.
So that's another thing, and I did share that because some customers don't know that. So you don't have to stick with that company. You just need them to hurry up and cut your check. But
Yep.
I mean, I even had, I mean, I've had one lady. I remember. This was like last year sometime. She walked in to this spot that I was at, and she was telling me about her situation with her car accident. And she told me that she was renting cars, and she had gone through all of her savings because her car had gotten totaled. And she told me the name of the insurance company started with a P,
Mm.
and basically she was out of her savings because she had spent so much money in rental cars waiting for these people to settle her claim. And she said she finally got an attorney involved, and I felt so sorry for this woman because I knew what she was going through, because I have heard the stories. And it's like, they don't do too much to accommodate the customer. They might be like, okay, well, they'll try to leverage, well, they'll give you extra time in your rental, or they'll cut you a check to cover some extra days in your rental. But the inconvenience that it has caused people for all these weeks and months at a time, it's like it's
Mm.
horrific.
Wait, months?
Yeah, some people be in this situation for months,
Ooh.
especially like if a tragic situation occurs. So like I'm gonna tell you another
Hmm.
thing. When 9/11 hit, right? Do you understand that ended up bankrupting a lot of the insurance companies?
Oh yeah.
So now there is a stipulation, there's a clause in the contract, the contractual agreement that you sign, that says the insurance company will not cover your vehicle if this was an intentional act, meaning if you intentionally ran into someone else, like say you backed into your own driveway, right? Like,
Hmm.
some people accidentally, oh, I thought I was hitting the brake and I hit the gas and hit.
Right.
So if you back into your own garage, they're not going. Some of them, they won't cover the claim because it's like you damaged your own property. Or if you hit your own car in the driveway, like it was an accident, they might not cover that.
That's
If it's
messed
an
up.
if it's an act of terror, meaning if it's a bomb or something like that, they don't cover it. If
Ooh.
you're running from the police and like you hit all these cars, like that has happened a lot. The Do you understand how difficult it is to call these customers and say, well, unfortunately this is not covered, like we're denying
Hmm.
coverage? And they're like, but your customer hit me, your client hit me, like I was not at fault. Man, these people be so upset. And I'm gonna tell you another thing. If you ever live in Florida, I handled heavily. Florida was the freaking worst. I said I would never drive in Florida because look, let me tell you, in Florida, you're only required to carry $10,000 in liability coverage. What is liability coverage, y'all? Some people don't know the difference between full coverage and liability. So it was so funny how people would call in and be like, oh, well, they said I had full coverage. Well, they said I had this or that. I'm like, no, did you read your policy? Some people don't read, but I read. I read that.
Right.
So liability is like, say you damage someone else's property and you're at fault, they'll cover the other person's property. That does not mean they're covering your vehicle. Full coverage is when you have the coverage that's going to cover your property as well. So a lot of people didn't know that. Well, in Florida, you only have to have $10,000 on the policy, right? That's the minimum. So say you get into an accident with like a BMW, a Mercedes, a Jaguar, you're out of coverage. And we've had people to actually hit 2 and 3 drivers because they were at fault. They rear-ended someone and pushed them into someone else and pushed them into someone else. 3 and 4 and 5 car accidents. Do you understand what we used to have to do? Man, we used to have to call these. What's good? VETV, Veracity Exchange TV is in the building. Salute to you, King. We used to have to call these people and tell them, well, unfortunately, our insured only had $10,000 on the policy. So now we're going to have to split it between all 3 of you.
Oh,
They're like, wait a minute. What do you mean? I'm injured. Well, guess what? In the state of Florida, you're not required to carry bodily injury on your policy. So then
so messed up.
we have to tell them, well, you know what? You need to contact your insurance company. They're like, why should I contact my insurance company? Your driver was at fault. Then I have to sit up here and explain the statutes of Florida to them. And they're upset with you. And you're just trying to explain it to them. I'm like, well,
Because of Florida's laws.
I tell them, call your state legislation. Get in contact with your state legislation because I'm not making it up. We have to write these letters and send them out, all because our driver was high risk, probably drunk, at fault, and didn't want to carry the proper coverage. So in the state of Florida, they have something called PIP, personal injury protection coverage, where it follows the vehicle. So like, say someone hit you, they're at fault, you get injured, you have to go through your own insurance company. That's how that works. It's messed up, yo.
It
So
is messed up.
you can get in. I know someone that had gotten into a car accident. She was on her way to Virginia Beach, and it was a multi-car accident. That insurance claim took years for them to settle. She injured her back. She was like in her early 20s when it happened. She probably was like in her late 20s when they settled it. And she got a couple of $1,000s, hardly anything, because they have to divvy up that money. That's what people don't understand. They have to divvy the money up. So everybody has to sign an agreement saying, I agree to what you're going to offer me. If one person says, no, I don't accept this offer, I want more, nobody gets a settlement. That's how that works in insurance. So you can have
I
a
did
claim
not know
open
that.
for a long time. Yes.
Speaking of insurance, I saw this video the other day I thought was interesting. And it was talking about how, like in most states, because Florida seems to be a little bit exceptional, but in most states, by law, you have to have renter's insurance, you have to have homeowner's insurance, you have to have car insurance. And although you're probably not going to use it, it's, required. And if you don't have these forms of insurance, you can be penalized or fined or whatever the case is, right? But they were like, why isn't it a legal requirement to have life insurance?
It's not legal. You don't have to legal, but I would strongly encourage people
No,
to carry
but
it.
that's a good question, right? Because you're gonna die. Like everybody's gonna die. So
That's
like it should be a
guaranteed.
given that you're going to use it. But people don't always go to the doctor. People don't always
Right.
get in a car accident or their house doesn't catch on fire or whatever. And so you don't have to use those insurances. So the companies are making money off of it, and you may not even necessarily use it for anything. But that life insurance, it's going to get used, but it's not a requirement, because basically if everybody got it, and then they got to pay it all out. Like, I'm just like, that makes so much, because a lot of people don't have it, and then you see GoFundMe accounts and all that type of stuff. So I just thought that was interesting, and I feel like the guy made a good point. I mean, I take care of my life insurance situations and stuff, but for people that don't, I was just like, that's a good way of looking at it. And on top of that, that's how some other groups of individuals keep money moving throughout their family and stuff.
Yeah, they do. Honestly, they do. And people don't like to talk about these things. Melanated communities really don't like to talk about it, but it is very important because there should be no reason why people are starting GoFundMe accounts every time a relative or a family member dies.
Mm-hmm. That's
That's
a,
not GoFundMe is not supposed to be to pay for funeral expenses. I mean, it could be for anything actually, but
I don't know who started that.
it's just the way of the culture at this point. But if anyone out there needs any life insurance, um, we do know someone that can help you out with that. Shameless plug. um, 8 with the 24 said, read everything you sign, especially the fine print, LMAO. That's basic common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like my mom worked for corrections. MF is called. They're getting mad like she made the law. Yeah. I mean that's pretty much how it is across the board. People get mad at you because you're the
The
messenger.
messenger, yup.
Yeah, that's how it is. But you gotta just kind of like make sure y'all are liking and sharing and subscribing this video, y'all. Okay. But you just gotta like not really take it too hard because it's not your company. If I could change things, I would. But because these corporations they lobby for the government, and for politicians, they get their way with a lot of stuff. And we all heard that these companies are not supposed to be monopolizing the economy. But look at Amazon. Look at Jeff Bezos. Like all these companies are monopolizing. They're doing what they want. And this is why the consumer gets stepped all over. You know what I'm saying? It's real messed up. I don't know if y'all heard what's going on with Balenciaga. I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't want them messing with my channel. But y'all check that information out. What's going on with them? Let me see what you said. Meanwhile, MFs are pedos and their mom is calling in for them. Like, nah, he's not getting out. Ooh, that's some what? The mamas are calling in for him. You know what? Well, they right where they belong then. Shoot, trying to get out. You said F Amazon. Ooh, God. You know what? I hope you win your lawsuit, 8. And don't feel bad about filing one. I say that more people do need to fight back against these companies. I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube about Amazon too. So I don't know what's going on over there. I have known someone that works for Amazon. They seem to be doing okay. But then again, I don't know what is really going on with them. Ooh, you should be castrated. 8.
And
Say it ain't
I
so.
thought it was weird because Amazon was laying off a whole bunch of people. And I was like,
Mhm.
it just seemed odd because this is kind of like the busy season, like Christmas season and stuff or
Yeah.
whatever. They usually are busier. So I was like, how are they laying off all these people? And then what was it? Facebook.
Mhm.
Facebook and Amazon was laying off a bunch of people. I thought that was odd.
I'm almost thinking that they're going to implement the robots. Because honestly, they are talking about having robots to deliver some of these packages, and also,
Oh, like the drones and stuff too, right?
yeah, the drones will be delivering packages. I don't know who just tried to come up here, but yeah, the drones and the robots are going to be taking the place. And you all know, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but I was talking to a colleague of mine, and her husband bought her a Tesla, right? So she was telling me, girl, them things ride nice too. She was telling me that Tesla is actually going to be like a car that drives itself. So that's going to cut Uber out. That's going to cut Lyft out, taxi cab drivers, all of them going to be cut out. Just think about if you have a self-driving vehicle.
Okay. I don't know if it's going to cut all of those out because are these Uber riders able to afford the self-driving Tesla?
No, but what I'm saying is if you get a Tesla and say that you want to put it on like the platform to do that, then you could just have your Tesla go pick the people up and you don't even have to really do anything. I
Yeah,
don't know
but that's going to be
how
a
that
different
works.
cost though.
For insurance claim purposes, I don't know how that's going to work, to be honest.
That's good. I feel like it's going to have to be somebody still in it or something like that.
Hmm.
I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to be like driving by. So now, granted, girl, if it starts self-driving, my situation, that is definitely the move.
You would consider it? I
I
just
would
don't trust in
consider
y'all.
it.
I think them things gonna drive us to a FEMA camp somewhere. It might lock the doors. You can't escape. Bulletproof windows. You know what I'm saying? I just be thinking the worst. Man, y'all just be careful with these things. BET said
I
robot
agree with you though. I think about stuff like that. So it's one thing needs to fix or another. Like I don't know, but
Yeah.
I yeah, I mean, and I can see that because if you rode in one before, so it I mean all the cameras that's on the car, I see how it could drive itself. Like
Mhm.
stay in your lane and beeping and all of this other stuff or whatever. It's a
Yeah.
bit much, but
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be expensive, and not everybody's
Yeah.
gonna be because even the nice Teslas now, because some of them are very basic, they just electric, but they
Mhm.
don't keep you in your lane, and they don't have all the cameras
Mhm.
and stuff or whatever. So I think it's
Mhm.
just gonna depend on who can afford it.
But that's going to be the wave of the future, really, when you think about it. Like BMW also has a electric vehicle,
Yeah,
so
but my
yeah.
thing with the electric vehicles is that now, granted, we were going to take a trip to DC one weekend, and my mother was like, "Y'all gonna drive the Tesla up there?" She was like, "What if the battery runs out?" And I was like, "True." So we went to charge it at like a supercharge station or whatever, and we
Mhm.
didn't go. We ended up not going, and thankfully we didn't because there was like an accident. There was an accident, and so it's like at least what, a 2 hour drive. Well, we were going to Maryland, but it's like at least a
Mhm.
2 hour drive. And if we had gotten stuck in traffic and didn't know, it wasn't like close to another charging station because it has to be a Tesla charging station, we would have been stuck on the side of the road. So I,
Mhm.
I feel like one of my neighbors, they have the hybrid, like a hybrid one. I don't know who it's by. It's not by Tesla,
Mhm.
it's somebody else. But I feel like that's probably a little more reliable because it's like if my battery runs out, I still have the option of gas. But I just know like the way that battery goes down, like kind of fast, and you can't get but so far. Every 2 hours I gotta stop, or every hour and a half I gotta stop. I don't know. I wouldn't get one personally unless it could drive me everywhere I needed to go. But I don't know.
Mm, 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 mm. I would like. I seriously like. After my experience, I was like, "Oh, this is nice." I would strongly encourage people to keep one that has the gas and one that is electric, so you can have the best of both worlds. Because with those electric cars, you don't have to worry about a transmission. You don't have to worry about a transmission fluid flush. You don't have to worry about the engine going. I mean, it's just so many
But
things.
do
You
you
don't have
have
to worry
other
about an
electrical
oil.
issues?
Gas vehicles will be discontinued in the next 3 years. All going electric. Gas cars will be like old school muscle cars. Well, yeah, you're going to have issues, but you're going to have to get like a new computer put in it. You know what I'm
And
saying?
how
And that's going to
expensive is
cost,
that new computer
oh,
gonna
that's
be?
going to be like 10,000. That's going to be. But what my point is, okay, I want you to think about the regular maintenance of a regular vehicle. Regular vehicles take gas. Do you understand how much people are paying in gas? Then you have to keep getting oil changes every so often. Plus, you have to get transmission, all these different flushes and oil flushes and stuff like that. Fluid flushes in your car. Well, Teslas and these electric cars don't have those issues. The most you will have to do is replace your tires after a certain amount of miles.
Yeah,
So
but
it's
then
really neat.
you still have all those under the car, the tires, the alignment, those things still.
Yeah, but you still don't have like all of the other stuff that goes on. You know what I'm saying?
The fluids.
It's really neat. Girl, yeah, I would do the electric vehicle. And
You just
and
said it was driving you to a FEMA camp,
well, you know what? I'm gonna make sure I have something in the car with me. So if I need to escape, I'm escaping.
and you said the windows was bulletproof.
That's what I said. I did say that. You know what? Maybe this is what we should do. We can test it out, right? So I'm gonna be like, you know what? Let's get a gun and let's shoot one of these windows out and see what happens.
Now you got a shot up Tesla.
I'm gonna be on the news, y'all. CEO and founder of Brown Girls Are Beautiful has been charged for reckless endangerment. Reporting to you live.
Witnesses and neighbors said she was shooting at her car.
Oh God. I feared for my safety, you honor.
That's not good. It's not gonna go good. Well, look, I'm about to hop off. It's
Okay.
bedtime around these parts over here.
Yes, indeed. It's almost
But thank you for having me on.
I enjoyed you. You're gonna have to jump back on. We're gonna do F Your Feelings Friday. Pull on up. Pull
I
on
will
up.
see you Friday. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you for joining us. Take care.
All right.
All right. You said Hollywood is full of robots, LMAO, celebrities, just robots. That is true. Definitely true. Bunch of COINTELPRO puppets. You can keep your cars that you have that are gas, but they won't make new ones. No, they're not going to make new ones. That's just like push start. You remember you used to put the key in the ignition and turn it. Like I miss my car. The one that I put the key in the ignition and turn. I wish I had kept my car. That was one of the best cars of my life. And I have the push start. But you know what? I just feel like they're never going to go back to the ignition switch cars ever again. Everything is going to be push start from now on. So I say keep one of each, keep one of each type of car. But these electric vehicles, y'all, that's the wave of the new future, whether people want to believe it or not. Good night, be loquacious. I don't know why she doesn't. She's a trip, y'all. Never mind. She had a little podcast going. I don't know, but she decided to jump on up here. Y'all make sure y'all send a shout out to her. Good night. Yes, that is the wave of the future, these electric cars. And I would entertain it, but I'm just a little scared about these cars that can self-drive you to places. We all know that the Lexus, I think there was a Lexus and a BMW that can park itself. I didn't really trust that because it's still like a computer mechanism that's controlling your safety. I mean, and then even in the hospitals, they got robots that actually deliver people's medication. We saw them in the hospital. And it was weird to me when I saw it, but they go from floor to floor. They go from room to room. They stop at the room and they deliver the patient's medication. So they can make you have an accident. Reminds me of Ann Heck. Car just keeps going. Yeah, man. Well, remember that happened to Toyota. Remember years ago, the Toyotas, all of the Toyotas had to be recalled. This was like back in 2009, 2008, 2010. They had to recall the cars, y'all, because people were trying to brake and the car would not stop. They did a major recall on Toyotas. And I don't know if anybody got injured. I think somebody did get injured, but they recalled every last one of those cars. And I was like, if a Toyota comes up behind me, get away from me. I don't even want to see a Lexus beside me. Get away. So it be recalls going on, but you don't hear about it. Another vehicle that a lot of recalls take place on are BMWs, you all. You don't hear about a lot of that in the news because they're supposed to have this big prestigious reputation, but they have a lot of recalls that take place. Just so that people are aware of it. If you ask me my personal opinion, the most reliable car is a Nissan and a Honda Accord. That's my two most reliable cars. So they can make you have an accident. Oh yeah, you said a robot. A robot's doing surgeries and this. I'll punch a robot for trying to do my LV. All cars have recalls. Toyota, yeah, all cars do, but the ones that have them the most, there are certain cars that have them more than others that they don't tell us about in the news, y'all. Okay, BMWs have been known to catch a fire. How do I know this? Because I was at the park one day, y'all, and you can actually look up the articles on this. These three guys, they were talking about how the car was parked in the garage and for no reason at all, it caught a fire and it started to catch the house afire. Y'all, and I'm not trying to be funny, but that did really happen. So, like I said, just be very careful when you purchase these vehicles that are supposed to be high in prestige because it's a lot of things they don't tell us. Okay. I've never heard about a Toyota just magically catching fire in the garage, but because BMWs are so, I guess they're so computer based and they have a lot of electronic equipment in them, they have been known to catch a fire. I've seen several articles where people have been driving down the road on the interstate and their car started catching a blaze. It is a serious situation going on out here, y'all. So just be real careful. But yeah, as far as an electric vehicle, I would definitely entertain the thought as long as it's not trying to drive me to a FEMA camp. You said they have Crackhead and S putting cars together over here. I know they got them making the license plates in jail for free. I know that. Hmm. Let me see what else. Depopulation. So you think, okay, so you think that they're going to have self-driving cars so they can start crashing into one another and have car accidents so they can depopulate people? Well, if that's the case, they might as well give us flying cars. What about the you remember when the hoverboards came out, right? They also has started talking about hover bikes. Because I have been sitting in traffic and I said, you know what? I wish that my car had some type of mechanism where I could just lift itself up. It could lift itself up and put itself ahead of all these cars and then just, clamp back down onto the road so I can get around all this traffic. That would be real neat. And if they got all this technology, why don't we have the technology to teleport? Why don't they give us something like that? They put together toys and S in prison. Do they? Wow, I didn't know they were making toys. Toys for tots. That's a little crazy. Okay. Well, at least they're being productive in society, y'all. Interesting, man. But yeah, so I just thought that was an interesting topic to touch on is, the banking system, how that's going down. What goes on with these corporations and things like that. And we got into a whole different topic talking about robots and cars. But yeah, that's the wave of the future are these robots. Robots are really going to be taking over a lot of people's jobs. So a lot of things that does not require your mental capacity, does not require you to have to conceptualize or think. If it's something physical labor is definitely going to be taken over by robots. So that is probably another reason why Amazon is doing a big layoff. And I don't know the structure of what's going on over there, but I do know there have been some people complaining about them and making videos online. So do your research. I did talk to a few people from DoorDash. I did ask them, I said, well, how do you enjoy it? And one guy said, he made pretty good money. In like a day, he made like $200 doing his DoorDash. He does that on the side. So, you might want to check that out. It's a lot, and DoorDash is up and coming, y'all, because so many people are working from home. They don't have time to be running out grabbing food. They don't have really time to cook. A lot of people are doing DoorDash. They're doing Amazon because they don't want to be out there on the road dealing with traffic. That might be the way to go too, y'all. They have a lot of stuff I posted on IG, like our psychic abilities. I post a lot of my things now. Yeah, absolutely. But Aid, I'm gonna have to check out because you have posted a few videos up here. I'm gonna have to check these out. Let me see. What did you put up here? I see it right there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look these videos up that you posted in the chat section and see what this is about, y'all. Yeah, but anyway, like you said, psychic abilities, I feel that we all have some type of telepathic abilities about us. If you really think about it, we have just been programmed to tap outside of ourselves. Like we pay so much attention to things outside of ourselves. We have so many distractions, electronic devices, TV, YouTube videos, all types of stuff, the radio that mess with our frequencies. But if we really got rid of all that stuff and tapped into ourselves, y'all, we're more powerful than what we recognize, what we know. So, many people have psychic abilities. I think that Sherelle, that was just up here, has a lot of psychic abilities and powers about herself. I'll be telling her she needs to tap into her abilities because she has had dreams that have come true, you all. I was like, man, you can make money off of that. I mean, they messed up absences. They admitted to it and reversed it, then still terminated me. Oh, they did? So, here's my thing about that, Eight. There's another channel that I watched too, and she had taken her job to court. I forgot what company she worked for. It might have been, no, it wasn't Amazon. She was doing Amazon delivery when she left her job, but they terminated her unfairly too. She had to take her job to court. I also had to file a suit against my job as well when I departed there, which is why I decided to go, and do some things for myself outside of being strictly on the corporate plantation. But yeah, they will mistreat you because they are a major corporation. They don't care. You're just another number. We already know this. So this is how I look at things. I look at, you treat your job, even if you're working for a corporation, you treat your job like a side hustle, and you treat everything else like your main hustle, even if you're not making money from it right now. If you have a YouTube channel, you need to treat that like your job. If you are like what I do, Brown Girls Are Beautiful, if you do printing services, if you are selling merchandise, if you have a service that you do on the side, if you have a license, a certification, you need to treat that like your main hustle, and don't put all your energy and effort into these corporate plantations, y'all. Give them the bare minimum, because they're paying you the bare minimum. Even if you think you're making a nice salary and a nice decent wage, that's really pennies that they're throwing at you. So that's what I will say to that 8 with the 24. Don't expect them to treat you fairly, because they will never do that. It's never going to happen. They have too much money to really care about people that they hire. You said we do the CIA's beep hiding it. Yeah, the CIA doesn't want us to know the truth about ourselves. They study us when we're born, y'all. They already have a lot of our genetic material when we're born. You know, probably doing stuff with our DNA, cloning us when we come. You know, taking the placenta now a days. All this type of stuff they do, y'all. But anyway, I'm not going to stay on here too long. Like, this was going to be a very short live stream. Thank you so much for pulling up Veracity Exchange TV, 8 with the 24. Shout out to Sherelle B. Loquacious and myself, of course. And anybody out there that's watching, all the viewers, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Again, I'm trying to grow my channel, you all. But we're going to close out with a testimony. I forgot to tell her to give her testimony, but I will give mine. If you want to give your testimony, type it out in the chat. My testimony is the fact that I'm still here to fight another day, you all. All is not lost, okay? We all have talents. We all have gifts, and we got to share them with the world. Don't worry about what other people have to say about you. I don't care how small you think your platform is. People are listening. People are watching. You are influencing people. No matter how minute you think your situation is, continue to build and grow upon it. Do never give up on yourself, y'all. That is something my 3-year-old nephew said one time. I remember I was so discouraged, and I thought about what my nephew said. He said, I'm never giving up. He said, nobody in my family is ever, 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 ever giving up. And I thought about that as a grown person. So we got to also carry that into our future. We're never going to give up on ourselves, y'all. I don't care what type of struggle you're facing, who tries to discourage you, what negative words they inflict upon you. Let that bounce off of you. Keep your armor on. Stay protected, okay? All the evil thoughts, let them be neglected. You said your testimony is that you hate it here. You hate it where? On YouTube or in the world? I think a lot of us hate this world. I hate to say it like that, 8. But when you are of a certain being and of a certain caliber, I understand where you're coming from. I feel that earth can be hell. I feel that it also can be heaven for some people, just depending upon how the cards are dealt. But whatever cards you are dealt, make sure that you play them to the best of your ability. Shout out to all the spades players out here. And if you haven't, check out my tarot on my other channel, y'all. I've been doing tarot spreads. You can also see that on my Instagram as well. Oh, you said you hate the life. You know what? You're not alone, 8. You're not alone. You just gotta, I know people always telling you what you gotta do, but you know what? You got people that are still dependent upon you. And I'm not saying live for other people, but you're gonna have to find out what it is that's going to bring you through how you're feeling. Life is not easy, I promise you. Life is not easy for a lot of us out here. They have so much going on against us. They're, antagonizing us in every way they can. We're basically being targeted on every extreme. So I get it. But try your best to stay encouraged and uplifted. And it's not the easiest thing. People that try to tell you this and that, they have never walked in your shoes. So that's why I hate when people say, oh, I know how you feel. No, you don't. If people have lost a loved one, if they've lost a relative, if they've lost a family member, lost someone close to them, and you sit up there and you haven't lost someone like that, and you're trying to tell someone, oh, I know how you feel, just get over it. You should heal, just move on. Don't listen to them people. Do what you got to do for yourself. You can't even talk to certain people about things. He said, I'm just be living for these 4 kids right now, to be honest. Well, let me tell you this something right here, 8 with the 24. At least you have had the opportunity to have 4 children in this world. And parenthood is one of the most precious, most important jobs you'll ever have on this walk of journey on this planet. Some people don't have the luxury, nor do they have the capacity or the capability of duplicating someone or saying that this person carries my genetic DNA. That is an honor in itself. And so that is something that you should hold to a high regard. That's something to be grateful for. Everybody cannot procreate, everybody cannot multiply, nor can they reproduce. There are so many people that wish they could be parents, and yet they cannot bear children. And sometimes people don't understand the magnitude of what it looks like for other people to mistreat their children and hate their children, don't want to have children. Even some people, take their children from this earth because they didn't want them, throw them in the trash. And then you have another person over there wishing they could have that child. So, take that as an honor. Apparently, the Creator has blessed you with these children for a reason. And so, we just got to think about the things that we think are, not saying that we don't appreciate our blessings, but there's always someone that wished that they were in your situation. There's always someone that wished that they had a voice that could speak. Some people cannot talk, literally. Some people cannot hear, literally. Some people cannot walk, literally. And some people are complaining about, oh, I don't like my feet, they're ugly. I don't like the sound of my voice. I used to say that about myself. I know people that have said they don't like the sound of their voice. You said you're grateful your youngest saved your life, but they're the reason you're here, them and your grandmother. You also have to live for yourself. And I think that's when you find happiness, when you live for yourself. You're living for other people, you're not going to find true happiness. You got to go within and see what that's going to be like. And some people find their identification in a relationship. And then when that person does not pan out the way they want them to, or they leave them, or they do something so detrimental to them that they thought this person would never do, it can be very disturbing. So that's why we got to do everything that fulfills us, whatever your gifts are, your dreams, your talents are. You have to find peace in that. And even if a lot of people don't support it, you support it, because before all this social media, we came into the world without the social media. So like I said, F your feelings, F these people. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, 8. That can be reversed, right? I just want you to know that. And I'm going to type this person into the chat. If you ever get a chance, check him out. His name is Dr. Jolly 8. And sometimes I have a friend that had one of those that you're talking about, and she had to have brain surgery to get it removed. But I think his name is Dr. Jolly. Check him out. He is the food prophet, you all. I think that's what he goes by on Instagram and also on YouTube. He actually worked with Bobby Christina, and she was actually coming back to life before they starved her to death. Also, he worked with DMX before they came up with this thing and said that, he was taking drugs. Drugs did not take out DMX. These people had something done to them. So please check him out. You can call him if you need his number. Let me know. I have his number saved. And he will talk to you, and whatever your ailment is, he will give you a concoction to help with that. All right, y'all. I'm not going to stay on here long. I just got a text. Y'all are sending me hold on, y'all. I'm getting text messages. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to see. Okay, this is where I am right now. This is hilarious. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to see what they're texting me. The news channel is on right now. Hold on. California. Excuse me, y'all. My apologies. I thought maybe it was something they wanted me to share to the live stream. Oh, okay. Anyway, didn't mean to interrupt anyone. But yeah, so yes, this has been an episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. 8 to 24, you do have a testimony. Okay, your testimony is that you're here and you've been blessed with 4 other spirits and souls that you're looking over. That is one of the biggest gifts. One of the biggest responsibilities in the world is to be a parent. Okay, it's nothing to be taken lightly or taken for granted. Your children are always looking up to you. And even if you're an older sibling, your younger sibling is always looking up to you. And even if you don't have siblings, there's someone that looks up to you. So shout out to everybody. You said you sent the information on the ban on gas cars. Let me see. Okay, let me check it out. Maybe I didn't see that. I was scanning through real quickly. Hold on. California has a 2035 ban on new gas powered cars set to apply. Oh, wow. Really? Let me look at this. Hold up, y'all. It says a 2021 state law linked Virginia vehicle emission standards to California as part of efforts to combat climate change. California's decision to ban the sale of new gas-powered cars began in 2035. Will also halt the sale of such vehicles in Virginia due to a 2021 law linked with the Commonwealth to the Western states' vehicle emission standards, state attorneys have concluded. Okay, so they're gonna stop selling gas cars. That's what I mean, and I could see this coming anyway. I can believe it. So y'all, like I said, whether we want it to happen or not, it's going to be the inevitable. These people are going to do what they want to do. So either we're going to have electric bikes. Shout out to Ray J at Raytronics. Get you a scooty bike. Get you a hoverboard or something. You know what I mean? But it's just going to be the new way of travel and mobility, and it's going to be an enhanced way of us being able to go back and forth in our vehicles, y'all. So with all that being said, maybe that's something that I can talk about on the next live episode, is this electric car situation, because that's going to be the new wave of the future. Yeah, the American dream is a scam. Who are you telling? I talk about that all the time. They have scammed us since the day we were born, since the day we came onto this planet. When they try to sell us that American dream, that's them giving us the dream. We create our own dreams, y'all. And you know what I'm saying? Like, who's out here winning? You determine your level of success. I say people have success. If you have a family, you're already successful. You know what I'm saying? If you have children, you have 2-parent household with your children, that's already winning. They don't want us to look at the basics in life. They want us to look at everything outside of ourselves. And they want us to think that all these material things and acquiring all this money, that's winning. Those people are not happy. I'm going to tell you just like that. So, y'all, we know that social media is a lie. Okay. So, yeah, the American dream is a scam, but you determine your dream. And once you decide what that is, nobody can tell you that you're not successful, because you create your own success. All right. All right, y'all. Now, with that, I am finally signing out. Shout out to you all. Thank you so much for joining me. We will be here next time on Friday. Check us out for F Your Feelings Friday. All right, y'all. Signing out. All right, y'all. Signing out.